are listening to Bearcat Insider with everybody's favorite assistant coach, Travis Marsh, and I'm Chance Kirby. Now to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bearcat Insider, Farmersville edition. This is Coach Marsh, and I'm here with the voice of the people, possibly the people's champ, real estate broker extraordinaire, Pilot Point's favorite son, the one, the only Chance Kirby.
Hello, everybody.
Well, the Cats came up short, 21-18 on Friday night in Farmersville. But before we get bogged down in the game, I do want to shout out Farmersville. They understand hospitality, and before you talk about hospitality to the cast, I'm going to talk about hospitality to the coaches' wives.
Before you even do that, why is this important? No, why is this important? Include that in. Why does this even matter?
Oh, because it's your first impression of Farmersville. I mean, I knew of Farmersville because I've known guys that have coached there. I played against them in the playoffs in 2000, and other than that, I really didn't know much about them. But then all of a sudden, you start learning about them, and you start getting this first impression. And outside of what happens on the field and the trade film that we got, the first thing that said is Coach Peacock came up and said, hey, my wife got a text from their head coach's wife or something like that. There was some communication, and all of the coaches' wives and kids were going to get a voucher for concessions.
I've never heard of that.
And so whenever they got there, they got a voucher for concessions and went and got to be free of charge. They got a meal there. And so I thought that was really neat. I had never heard of that before.
I've never heard of that.
And now, in the future, I think it's something that, it needs to be looked into. I think that's a great way to kind of olive branch it, so to speak.
Any step that you can take showing goodwill towards another school, in my opinion, should be done. And it's not done enough. And I haven't been in the business as long as you. Not really in the business now, but I do represent Pilot Point's media department as far as going over there, and some receptions are cold at best.
Yep, and so long story short, before we bog everybody down in what they probably don't want to hear about, they were very accommodating to the broadcast.
They have a nice press box, for starters. That always helps. That comes with being a big school. Like, you can't fault any school for their budget or how many people they have. It's not their fault. But what made this school different is they reached out to us on Monday. We told them we were coming.
Hey, we're on our way, and then they took that and they were rolling.
Yes.
They provided us with all the information we needed, asked us the location that we preferred, and then when we got there, there was a staff member on site to help us.
There we had a greeter. We'll call him a greeter.
Sure.
I think he ran the school's AV program. And then what made them go the extra mile that I've never seen before, he said, here's the password, here's to get on the internet, get connected as quickly as possible, and if there's any issues, we have the tech guy on staff ready to support you to get your cast. Your cast being out is a priority of ours. Now, let's listen again to what I just said. The Pilot Point Bearcat cast, and they have a cast of their own,
right,
was a priority for Farmersville to get out.
Yeah.
To me, that's the way it should be. It's all about the kids and the fans and the football as a product.
Yeah,
not breaking it down on what jersey we're wearing.
Well, and that just shows their priority is maximizing the game to everyone.
Yeah.
Not, hey, we're going to screw you and make sure that you can't get on the Wi-Fi.
Or make sure you have to watch our cast and your people can't.
They were very accommodating.
Yeah, and anyway, the tech guy came up. We couldn't get on.
Yep.
Of course, because I think they suspected that because schools have a pretty high security system on their internet.
Sure.
For good reason. And the tech guy stood up there with us and said, I'm not walking away until you guys are casting. And that's why those of you listening probably watched the game over there. That's why you can see it now.
Yep.
Thanks to Farmersville.
Yeah, but hats off to Farmersville.
Go Farmersville. Go Farmers.
Go Farmers AV department.
Go Farmers Media.
Yeah. Let's now I can only imagine the amount of questions and comments that you have for me today.
I
so
do.
Before we get bogged down into a huge, long discussion of it, I'm just going to kind of give a quick overview.
Okay.
Okay. We should have won the game.
Okay.
Okay. That's thing is we should have won, but we did not remain focused enough to get it done. And part of that is you're playing a game that has an oblong object that takes weird bounces, and figuratively and literally, the ball bounces your way sometimes and it doesn't. And 2 times we were the victims of the ball taking a bad bounce. And that was hats off to Farmersville for their strategy of onside kicks. And then other than that, it was the literal, or the figurative thing of we had bad luck on a couple of occasions that there were times where a routine play wasn't made on both sides of the ball. And so, that happens. It's not the end of the world because Farmersville is not a district opponent. So that doesn't take away the fact that we lost and that we didn't do well enough to win. But it does buy a little time for this team to continue to grow. So, fire away.
I want to give a disclaimer first. What I think makes our post-game great is that I actually ask the questions I'm about to ask. We're not what am I trying to say? A shill to where it's all just awesome.
It's not sunshine and rainbows all the time.
No, and that I go out, look at the message boards, talk to people, and actually find out what the community's thinking, and then let you know what they say to me. It depends on what side of the fence you sit on. If a coach is listening to this, it's like none of this matters. I argue that it does matter. The more information you let the fans know, I think it's a defense mechanism. You can address their concern. They don't have to listen to you, but they can at least hear your side of it so then they don't fester and get more worked up. That's my sell for what I do. I'm not saying it's right, and I see your face, but I'm saying that's one side of it. That's one side. So, as like you and I have always done, we know how everybody else does it, and then we're going to do it our way. So, everybody buckle up because it's about to get fun.
I will do my best to not throw this table at you.
Yes, please don't throw the table at me. In no particular order.
Oh, great. It means there's multiple.
There's multiple. I have notes.
You have a notebook.
I took notes.
Oh, great.
Okay. Was the onside kicks something that we did not expect? Or did we know that was going to happen?
From previous games film, we had known that the ball was going to be on the ground. And if you watch the game, it wasn't a true onside kick. They weren't angling the ball, aiming at the 50-yard line. Like
I call it a skipping rock or a squib or something.
A squib is what the technical definition
kind of the
of
second
it would be.
levels where they were aiming.
All they're trying to do is limit the ability of the opposing team to get a big setup return.
Yeah.
And they did. Mission accomplished. We were not able to do that. And so, we had a plan in place. And practiced it all week. The kids, as far as our part of the plan, which was getting them lined up correctly when they were huddled up, we were, closer together because they had shown that little stupid huddle break thing that people do. And so we compress when they compress. When they go out and extend the field, we extend with them. And so as far as that goes, it wasn't a shock. It was executed poorly. And, I guess the onside kicks that happened or the turnovers that happened on kickoff return, our kids had a chance to field the ball and we weren't able to field it cleanly. I
know before, probably sooner than later, you're going to point out that I've never coached, so I have coached on Madden. So this is how I would fix it. I'm asking you how you fix it going forward. The simpleton who's never coached before says, just fall on the ball.
Okay.
Now,
it's actually really solid advice.
Wow, check one for me. I'm going to mark this down. So if back to me, never coaching. Is that something now, as an opponent, I'm going to say that watch that film for the rest of the season. I think that's all we're going to see until we show that we can address it however this. So what do you do moving forward? And I know oversimplified it. I mean, I guess that's a point of focus is a long question to get to. Is that a point of focus this week now?
I think it has to be.
Yeah.
Now, Bells has an excellent place kicker, and he can boot it. Well, why not put it on the ground at us at this point? I mean, there's a. I guess we had 5 kickoff returns. No, we had 4 kickoff returns. 50% of them we mishandled.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would expect that we're going to see it. Now, there's multiple ways that you can go about addressing it. You can move your personnel around to where you put what you would consider more sure-handed people in that position. The problem that we have is those sure-handed people are the deep return guys. So now you put them there. Now when they kick it deep, the big playability of kickoff returns, which we've seen Crew, he has one already this year with a phantom holding call, and then Aston has 2 on his resume as well from previous years. So we know that the deep guys are capable of taking it back.
Which is why I think some of the reason, with the exception of Cruz, that he took it back to the house.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got a kicked deep on us all year so far.
No, and that's, I mean, people watch film, people know who the Bearcats are, and so they know that you don't want to kick it deep, so they kick it short. And I think what you're going to end up playing with is, you start moving personnel around, and kickers are pretty good. Most everybody has a decent kicker. It's not like the old toe punch days where you had teams that just couldn't kick the ball deep. Most everybody has a kicker now. And so what you're going to see is if we move personnel to where our threats are up near the front, then they're going to start kicking it deep to kids who aren't a threat. And so, there's just a lot of things that go into it. And the way that I look at it is if you look at the amount of contact that happens with those plays, if we were to put Aston or Crew or, Colin or Gage or Wyatt up there on that second level, and they go up and they jump up to try to field a ball that's bouncing all around, and we make the knee-jerk reaction of doing that because we don't want this to happen again. Well, what happens if it takes a weird bounce? Aston has to go up to try to catch it, and when he pulls it down, kid comes diving in and he tears up his knee. Well, now the next question that I'm going to have to answer on this podcast is, why did you put one of our better players in a position where they're vulnerable? And that's not to say that Tristan and Dawson are kids that we want to be vulnerable, but they just have to do a better job of fielding the ball cleanly. And part of that is experience, and that's something that we did. We had our kickers just nailing line drives on the ground, and these kids were fielding it. Well, it's easy to field it cleanly in practice. The JV kids are the ones running down to hit you.
Yeah. It's
not the varsity from Farmersville. And there's not nerves, and there's not pressure, and there's not bands playing. There's not a scoreboard.
2 webcasts.
And so everything changes on game night. Pressure's there. Nerves are there. And so I think what you'll see is as time goes on, the maturation of those younger players will not take care of some of these problems, but some of these problems will be lessened just because they've been there. I mean, the difference, Crew, this was his 23rd varsity game. No, 13th varsity game. He didn't play as a freshman. So it's his 13th varsity game. This would be Aston's 20-something varsity game if he had been healthy the whole time. And so they've seen it. They understand the pressure a little bit more. And so I think that's kind of what you're seeing. But, the fix is that, the ball could take a better bounce for us. That would be great, but it's unpredictable. But we just have to focus and execute a little bit better. And part of it goes to what you said earlier about falling on the ball. If your objective is just, I'm going to field the ball and I'm going to get down, then that means you're not trying to field the ball thinking about all the people hitting you as you're trying to run to the end zone. Does that make sense? I mean, you're
yeah, but it should. should that have been our objective after it happened once or even
If
twice?
you know,
Look, just get it. Let's get it to Wyatt instead of us trying to make something happen on a kickoff.
Well, and that is what it turned into, especially after the second one, was just do whatever it takes to get the offense the ball.
Yeah.
We don't need a kickoff return. And, you know.
So the answer, I'm going to sound like I've coached, it's not a schematic problem. It's an execution problem.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, personnel, I think that, yeah, we could move personnel around and take care of that problem, and then it's just going to be a different problem.
Another problem.
Yeah, you know, and if we execute, and, you know, maybe we coach those kids up a little better. Maybe I should have said, hey, just drop on the ball. Just get the ball in your hands and curl up around it, and don't even try to advance it. I mean, maybe that was the coaching point. But then you take that, and Dawson fielded the first one cleanly and made 25 yards.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just one of those things where just we need to execute better. We need to focus up a little bit better, and we need to grow up a little bit.
But I think that led into, I kind of kicked you in the crotch on the first one, and now I'm going to tee it up for you to kick me in the crotch on the second one.
Perfect.
So you'll like this. But I think the attitude of what you just said, where we returned one and it worked, because of where you and I always butt heads, if they got the ball, which moves us to topic 2, they were going to keep it and not give it back to us. It always comes back to time for me.
Sure.
I love time of possession. That's why, that's another thing on that kickoff tour. To me, it is more important just to get the ball so we can have the ball. Don't risk giving them the ball, because it's going to be a long time till we get to see the ball again.
Well, and I know that most of the time whenever we have this argument, it usually has to do with philosophy and schemes. You know, take, for example, Texas A&M and Appalachian State. Go Mountaineers. And time of possession was the stat of that game.
Mm-hmm.
A&M just didn't have the ball. And if you don't have the ball, you can't score. But if you look at the way that Appalachian State is every game, that is a hallmark of their program. They play keep away. Mm-hmm. Their scheme is built on keep away. I don't think Farmersville's scheme is not like what we're about to see from Bells. Farmersville doesn't care about their time of possession, but they're not up-tempo, breakneck, fast-paced like Ponder's going to be. They just run an offense. And if they score in one play, great. If they score in 15 plays, great. Don't care. Okay? And so I think that the fear isn't time of possession. The fear is actually number of possessions. And so anytime you have a turnover, especially if it's on special teams, you just lost your offense a possession. And so when you look at that game, the defense had 12 possessions that they were on the field. The offense had 10 possessions that they were on the field. So that means if you score 100% of the time and they score 100% of the time, no matter what, we are at least 12 points short. And so you're automatically at a disadvantage whenever you have a special teams turnover, because your offense never even got the opportunity to turn the ball over themselves. At least if Wyatt were to throw an interception on the next play, the offense got to snap the football. And so, therefore, they got a drive. But just because of the 2 special teams turnovers, we were short 2 drives just from the beginning. Or, well, not from the beginning, from the end. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think it's a scheme thing as far as they were trying to play keep away. I think it was more of a, just to go to your point, it's the loss of the possession instead of the loss of the time.
And then this piggybacks into number 3 I wanted to ask you about. And we've punched and counterpunched each other for so many years now. I'm going to throw up my defense already. So you have to come up with a new thing of why I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I do have the benefit of hindsight.
We usually agree on that.
I have never coached before.
Okay, two things. Got it.
Okay, but this is something that people want to talk about.
Well,
and it is, and I know, number 3, I know we're talking about it because it didn't succeed. At a time that it seemed like to most people watching that we should have focused on us controlling the ball for a little while. we ran the Wildcat.
Uh-huh.
Now, before you speak,
No, that's fine.
probably most everyone watched the Longhorn game, not because they like the Longhorns, because they either A, hate the Longhorns or hate Alabama. So that was definitely a most-watch game.
Or it was a fantastic football game.
But what I was going to...
That's the only positive thing you'll ever hear me say about the University of Texas.
But Texas ran the Wildcat several times in that thing.
Yep.
No one's complaining today about the Wildcat. So had it worked, but we threw the Wildcat in at what some people think was an awkward time, probably because it didn't succeed. And also at a time, and I will say that this is my opinion, that we should have focused on eating up some clock. Now, tell me why I'm an idiot.
I don't think you're an idiot because we're looking back in hindsight.
Yeah.
And so really you have the answers to the test, and now we're going back through the test saying why this is a stupid question.
Correct.
First, let's start with the Wildcat decision. I thought it was a good change-up. And I think, of course, going back, we wouldn't do it because it didn't work. But
like I said, if Keith is thinking like Sarkisian, that's pretty good company.
Sure. They just took the number one team to the ropes.
Yeah.
But that's part of coaching. Is you make decisions and you make them on the fly, and you make them in a vacuum where you're trying to make the best decision at the time. I thought it was going to be a good change up, and actually, you talk about running clock. The Wildcat is actually a clock eater when successful.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was great. I think if it's one of those things that if it had worked and we had driven the ball down the field on a 10-play, 4-minute drive, we'd be sitting here talking right now about how genius we were.
Talking about the Wildcat. Yes, I agree.
Man, y'all really uncovered a gem right there in Plainview and why it got hurt.
Yeah.
And, now you got to a point where it's a critical point in the game, and you threw him the old curveball, that Wildcat, and y'all just punched it right in, and then we'd be heroes. But guess what?
I don't disagree with that. That's why I have to ask the tough questions, because it didn't work.
But that's the risk you take being a coach. And, it goes back, and for those that are at home, get out your pen and paper, get out your Google, and Google The Man in the Arena. All right, by Theodore Roosevelt, one of his speeches. And
we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
The poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride and cynicism. There are many who confine themselves to criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect, than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief toward all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort which, even if it fails, comes to second achievement. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Are you looking to build that dream home or barn-dough? CS Designs offers a complete range of design services. CS Designs products range from general drawing services to commercial and residential blueprints, as well as 3D renderings and virtual reality walkthroughs. Let Cole Stewart and the CS Design team design you a beautiful progressive home or building that translates your ideas into an outstanding reality. Visit their website at csdesignstx.com or give them a call at 940-365-4048.
One of his speeches, and you have all this noise on the outside, and you have all these people that second guess every decision that's ever made, but what it really boils down to is the man in the arena. And there's all the noise from the outside that can tell you everything you did wrong, but you have to be very conscious in your decisions, and you have to be very confident in your decisions, because what it boils down to is the man in the arena. And so when you look at what the decision was made, that was the best decision at the time, and it didn't work out, and you live with the consequences. But you don't second guess it if when you made that decision you thought it was the right thing to do. And so now about clock, when you know the end result, it's easy to say things like you wanted to eat clock.
Always. That will never change. I think
You know,
next week
say-
we'll have a lot of clock
say-
eating conversation.
Say
if we win big, then you get to tell me why it doesn't work.
Say we had gone Wildcat, it had been successful, but it had been a 4-minute drive that ends up in a punt. Okay? And then the same result happens of Farmersville scoring. Theoretically, now again, we're playing with fuzzy math here because we don't know how that would alter the course of play calling and events and everything else. Theoretically, we would have wasted the 2 minutes that we had to try and go score at the end of the game. In theory.
Correct.
Now, like I said, might or might not have worked out that way. I think the best thing to do when you have the lead and you're not in a 4-minute to go or a 2-minute to go type situation where timeouts start to matter and all that type stuff. But if you're just third quarter and you have a lead like what we had, is not a safe lead at all.
Yeah.
I think you're best suited that you run your normal tempo. So for us, our normal tempo is different from, you remember Castleberry?
Yes.
I mean, that was like NASCAR tempo.
Yeah.
Ponder runs their normal fast tempo. What we're about to see from Bells is not a clock eating tempo, just a clock eating scheme. And then there's some schools that, they literally wait until there's 1 second on the play clock and they snap it, and they're just a very slow tempo. So whatever your normal tempo is, that's what you need to run in a 1-score, 2-score game, because you're 2 plays away from being tied or behind. And so you just keep your normal tempo, because that's what your kids are used to. You're not disrupting the flow of anything. Now, say you're a 4-minute offense. Now we're at 4 minutes to go. We have the lead. At that point is when you start saying, all right, let's start chilling out. Let's start holding the clock a little bit longer.
Literally doing the hand signals I see you do to the kids.
And you tell them, hey, we're going to slow down. We're going to try to bleed the clock. That's whenever I say Wyatt, and I point at my watch like, hey, we're going to give you the call, but there's no hurry. And the same thing with a 2-minute is when you're in an extreme bleed. And at that point, your play calling tendencies change because you're not, I thought it was really awkward that they threw a 3rd down pass with 1:35 to go.
Yeah. Wasn't even a good pass.
I didn't agree with the play call. Take the sack or just hand the ball off again.
Yeah.
But by doing that, they saved us a timeout. Now, the flip side of that is if they convert the 1st down, then the game is essentially over. But, time management and clock management is the absolute most difficult part of coaching.
Let me counter your theoretical
sure.
with mine. I don't like, and it's go back to Texas, Alabama as well. I don't like's a bad idea. My approach as I coach a digital team, the mentality of, hey, hopefully we can have 2 minutes on the back end if we need it to score, is the wrong approach. I think you should not want that there, because we're going to take care of business now when we have it. Because let's talk about a different team. Texas should have, in my opinion, should have been snapping on the backside. Not change tempo tremendously, but snap the ball on the backside of the play clock instead of the front side.
Okay, so
to
you're
then
saying
limit the Heisman Trophy winner and the number one team in the nation from getting the ball with as much time as they had, because then in turn, in my non-coaching head, they then have to change their tempo and do things maybe they didn't want to do. Maybe they wouldn't be able to run when they force them to throw. And again, it's all 2020, but
you start thinking about it, and when was that last snap to Bryce Young that he ended up running to the 17-yard line was at 25 seconds?
yes, which that should have been a sack, but that's a totally different.
Well, it should have been.
This isn't the Texas postgame show.
No, but
yeah.
you think about it with 25 seconds. Now, if you're the coach of the Longhorns, you start thinking about where could I have taken those 25 seconds away? At what point?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But what if Alabama gets the ball back? I think they started at 1:09.
I believe so.
God, why did I pay so much attention to that game?
Because you hate both of them.
Okay, but they got the ball to start the drive with 1:09. And say you had taken that 25 seconds away at the end, but what if they score on their first play? So now you're getting the ball back with 52 seconds.
Because to me,
you're always playing with fire.
you're playing defensive, though. To me, you're playing defensive, and I'm saying play offensive. Be offensive.
Great. We're good at that. All right. We could argue time for the rest of it.
And you'll hear it next week. I have no doubt.
All right.
Because I admire the clock.
Next on the list. Beat me down more.
I'm going to beat you down more.
Great.
And you said it earlier, and the what if. Aren't they playing the same game today, saying we had 3 touchdowns called back on penalties, and if those wouldn't have happened, we would have blown them out?
So, hold on a second. Let me collect my thoughts before I start ranting. So the 3 touchdowns that they had where they were flagged for an ineligible receiver downfield. So a lineman crossed the threshold. Yeah, I mean, they can say that all they want to. But defensive football, especially with Coach Burris and what we do, is driven by keys. And, you know, it's no secret. That's not a trade secret. That's not a secret to only Coach Burris's defense. All defenses work off of keys. And so when your secondary, your back end guys are keying, and their key, everything about it screams run to the point where it's actually illegal to pass the ball forward, and they trigger. If a guy behind him is running a pass route,
He's going to be open.
He's going to be open because our dudes are going to go make the tackle because everything about it says it is illegal to pass the ball because this lineman is running downfield. So the receivers being open wasn't that Farmersville got over and we got lucky there was a penalty. It was schemed open because what they did was linemen released downfield to the point where it causes our back end to trigger from pass coverage. And so, of course, they're going to be open.
So there might actually be a benefit of being a real coach than just a digital coach.
Yes.
That
There's no ineligible man downfield.
These touchdowns looked as flashy as they did because they triggered all of us to move. Because once you see the lineman down the field,
okay, so
then it can't be a pass. I'm with you.
Yeah, we say we do a play where we turn around, Wyatt tosses the ball to Gage. Okay, we have that play. All right, and Gage runs around behind the line of scrimmage, but the linemen have gone and they're blocking all the way downfield, and so the corner tries to come up and pass Gage or tackle Gage, who he has believed to be running the ball, and Gage just throws it as far as he can downfield, and Aston catches it. That's basically what happened.
Because it's a basic tenet of football that's a key.
When
the linemen are out here, get the run.
It's a run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to explain it.
So, no, Farmersville did not have, or we were not having fortunate luck with the referees, I promise you. And, you know, they were taking points off the board. They were doing, in their scheme, it's a good, I like their scheme. I like what they do. The quarterback just didn't make his decision fast enough, and therefore the linemen were too far downfield.
Okay. Explain the turnover that we got robbed of.
It was just a officiating mistake, and I do believe that's a human element. Okay, and this is me speaking in defense of officials.
I'm sorry, I was looking around to make sure I was where I thought I was.
You weren't punked. Ashton Kutcher's not running
exactly.
going in here. No, I mean it was a human error. It was a terrible error. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's excusable. It's awful. They literally did not know what happened, therefore they did not make a call.
Because
they said
the hit was pretty wild, so I see where that could draw all of their eyes.
They said that Colin did not possess the ball inbounds.
Okay.
They said he was out of bounds when he caught it. Well, if you look at every angle that there is, he is clearly inbounds with clear possession of the ball. It would have been a catch on a Sunday.
Yeah.
They missed it.
Okay. It's good.
That's about the only positive thing I have to say about that crew.
Well, and that was where I was going to go. At the end of the game, it seemed that you and them were having some discussions. Was it over holding or perceived holding?
It was over holding and perceived holding.
Yeah.
We had fourth in the game twice, and we converted twice. And they called holding both times. And the second hold that they called on Manny was pretty egregious. Look that up. It was definitely there.
I'm going to add it to my notes.
Yeah. The first hold that they called on number 71, who was not currently on the field at all. And they said, never mind, it's 70. It was a phantom. I mean, that hold, if you're going to call that a hold on Riney, you literally will have to call holding every play.
Okay.
And there is holding every play. They could throw a holding flag every play if that's what they want to decide to do, which means in my mind, if you're throwing it on back-to-back plays, you're looking for a reason. Now, I'm not saying that he's a Farmersville homer or he was paid. I'm not dipping into that at all. I'm just saying that the guy there were 3 holding calls all night. One on Aston where he actually got tackled by the defender. And then the 2 holding calls on Riney.
I think there was another holding because on Aston's sweep, Puga got called.
Yes,
for
Puga. So 4 of them all on us.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
And there's no way in the world that the other team does not hold all game.
So you're just calling for balance.
Yes, if that's what you're going to call hold, that's a hold every time.
You want more like hockey officiating.
I guess. I don't know that I've watched a hockey game ever.
It always seems to be balanced.
I just
want to know you got one coming if the other team got one.
Yeah, I just consistent. Okay. I want it to be consistent.
It was consistently holding on us.
I agree.
Well, let's take a break. Let's hear from CS Designs. When we come back, we're going to end on a high note.
Maybe my blood pressure will go down.
Let's end. Are you looking to build that dream home or barn-do? CS Designs offers a complete range of design services. CS Designs products range from general drawing services to commercial and residential blueprints, as well as 3D renderings and virtual reality walkthroughs. Let Cole Stewart and the CS Design team design you a beautiful, progressive home or building that translates your ideas into an outstanding reality. Visit their website at csdesignstx.com or give them a call at 940-365-4048. All right, we're back. Now out with the bad.
Thank you, CS Designs.
Yes, thank you, CS Designs. Okay, out with the bad. Let's end on a positive note. Let's live on a high note. Let's start with our touchdowns. Start with that first touchdown. How did that work? What was that touchdown play? How did that happen, Coach?
First touchdown, I do believe, was the first scoring play was a field goal from Elias.
40-yarder, by the way. Yes. That's correct. Let's talk about that.
Sweet redemption for Elias.
I was sure happy to see him hit the 40-yarder.
And it wasn't. It was a sure shot.
I was right there behind the goal post. It hit right on the runway for the long jump. I think he had
Michael caught it on one bounce. I saw that on film.
2 or 3 more yards. I think he had on that deal. Yes, that was great. Good start. I apologize, Elias, for skipping over that.
Nick's Italian field goal attempt. The kick is up. This one's long enough. It is far enough. It is through. The Nick's Italian field goal from 40 is good for Elias Alejos.
Yeah, I do believe touchdown number 1 was a
34-yard
run from.
No, it's the 30-yard crew.
30-yard, 34 is crew.
Yeah,
but it was just a 30-yard Z fly from Aston. He tested the right side and it kind of closed up on him and cut back and went out the back door and 6 points. Pretty routine is the way it would best be described. Line got good push and athlete made use of the space.
Very, very coach speak there. I like that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's turned into like a press conference now.
Ball centered in the field. 2 receivers left, 1 right. Motion left to right. It's going to be a jet sweep for Aston Kirby, who's going to turn it up and get a first down inside the 20.
There he goes.
Reverses field. Aston Kirby's going to take it all the way for the Pelzel Printing touchdown. 30.
What a play.
All right, second touchdown. Same end zone. 34 yards. It was a thing of beauty.
It was. Crew popped wide open, and that's exactly what he was schemed to do. It made for an easy read for Wyatt, and he ran a great route. The receiver that was in there, not the receiver, Crew was the receiver in the middle of the field. The defender that was in the middle of the field had opened up to their sideline pretty heavy, and by the time that Crew broke, he was out of position.
He's just chasing.
Yeah.
Drop back to pass, clean pocket.
Good
time. Oh, he's got Crew Chandler
Go
breaking
get it.
across the side. Chandler catches it. Touchdown, Crew Chandler. 34-yard touchdown pass from Wyatt Smith to Crew Chandler for the Pelzel Printing touchdown. As soon as Cruz crossed the field, I saw him, and there you go. Crew Chandler, or Wyatt Smith saw him too, and that's a big Bearcat touchdown before the half.
What a strike. He put that right in the bread basket.
Absolutely.
Catch, pass, throw. Wyatt had no pressure at all. He was sitting in a clean pocket, and that's what happens.
Awesome.
And we're done scoring now.
That's it. Boom. Done. So let's talk about what happens on Friday. Who's coming to town?
Well, Hell's Bells will be here, and cue the song. And man, I'm not gonna say we're gonna have our hands full because we don't play bad teams. I wish we had a bad team on the schedule. It'd be awesome. We don't play bad teams. Bells is a solid opponent, and they believe in what is the slot T offense, which you will fawn over. You'll love it. And the best way that I can describe it is it's gonna be like a 48-minute fist fight. I mean, it's gonna be tight quarters. There's gonna be 22 people within this little small box, and they're gonna be just physical. They come right at you. There's no real smoke and mirrors. It's not real sexy or cute. It's just brutal. They head coach Del West. I worked with him at Collinsville, and he was super successful there at Collinsville. And then he was the offensive coordinator at Howell before Collinsville, and he was super successful there. And the transition at Bells has been from Scott Ponder, who threw the ball all over everywhere. They just threw the ball all the time. To now they rarely throw a pass, and those kids have bought in, and they do a good job.
I bet when they do throw, it's pretty good, though, because
It's surprising.
no one's expecting it.
Yeah, it's very surprising.
Yeah.
And so defensively, they're gonna base out of the same thing that Farmersville based out of, but everybody has their own little kind of wrinkles to it, and they fly to the football and they're physical. So it'll be a good game.
I'm going to back up to Farmersville again real quick. I'm sorry. Did it seem to you that they applied less pressure to us than you expected? Because weren't they advertised as being kind of a pressure team?
And they still brought it.
Yeah.
They brought quite a bit of
So
pressure.
was it just a credit to the line
Yeah,
that it
the
wasn't
line
as noticeable?
The line did a good job for most of the night. I think that of course we would always want more, but they did an adequate job.
Yeah.
Wyatt, there were a few times where Wyatt had to scramble around. He made a real nice scramble and threw a strike to Aston across the middle of the field in the first quarter. But other than that, for the most part, Wyatt was sacked one time, so they didn't bring so much pressure that it really took us out of our game.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know who's coming to speak Thursday morning at Buffs for the Bearcat breakfast yet?
Not yet, but
Okay, y'all should be there.
absolutely. 5:45 in the morning. It's $10 to come hang out with the Cats and eat with the coaches. And we've had the turnout has steadily increased every week.
Yeah, I would say we had close to 50 last week.
And I hear we have a guest MC.
Yes, you do.
The undefeated glasses are out for this week, so
Yeah, he's following his other hobby, love of talking about how great he was at football, and second is horse racing. He's going to a horse
symposium.
auction,
Let's call it symposium.
something.
Because I want to use that word.
Okay,
And so we
great.
go from the undefeated glasses to the defeated no glasses. Or the defeated readers.
I'm defeated. That's me. That's the perfect description of Chance. Is defeated.
But look forward to it. I'm sure you'll do a fantastic job.
I will.
I'm really upset that I'm going to have to leave, though.
You should stay. I might call on you.
Oh, you will call
Yeah,
on
we
me
can-
to give the junior high report.
We can break out in a podcast or something.
Sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, did you mention that also, I don't know if people know that have been in the past, that the volleyball team comes and speaks now, too?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is great.
So we're more inclusive now.
It's a buzzword.
Yeah. We're just hitting all of them. Just mark that one off the list, too.
Maybe we can get cross country involved eventually.
Maybe. It'd be good. They're running, though. Aren't they working out during that time?
Oh, they can spare a few minutes to stop by and say, hey, they can run to Buffs
Yeah.
and then run back.
Exactly.
Well, I'll mention it to Jeff. I bet he feels left out. He should be there.
Exactly. So what else we got? We got this week
We got Bells
Bearcat breakfast and bells.
And Bells. And then, man, District starts next week.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next week.
So if
One game at a time, Chance.
varsity is here, then junior high is here on Thursday night?
No, we're away.
Okay.
Everybody's away.
Okay.
Starting at 4:30 p.m.
Where's that at?
Hell's Bells.
Okay. You never know, y'all. Y'all aren't
Oh,
mimicking
Newman International Academy is not coming to play the Cats again.
They don't want any more of that.
30-0. Booger Eaters win.
Okay.
But hell, if you're finished grilling me and making me feel like a terrible coach,
Well, I appreciate you respecting that what I feel like I have to do for this non-paying job and not punching me in the face. I continue to
couple tense moments. but
Carry my banner of voice of the people.
I'm glad you edited out all the cuss words. All right, as always, we sure appreciate you listening, and go Bearcats.